Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm getting caught up on some videos and getting some content out there. Today we have another DCU update. I wanted to go through this Rolling Stone article that James Gunn did because a lot has come out from this article, and a lot of it is getting praised for things that he said about their plans and what they're doing. But I'm going to dig into this because some of this stuff is why I wasn't really excited for the Superman movie at first. I don't think James really knows what he's doing, and he doesn't come off as a CEO that really cares about his brand or product. And we're going to get into this. So the title of the interview, Superman director James Gunn. You don't want everyone to root for you. You don't? DC Studios co-CEO goes deep on his high-stakes take on the Man of Steel, the future of his new DC universe, and how getting fired helped him feel loved. Well, we all know what he got fired for, and this article was by Brian Hyatt. This is a long article. I'm not going to read all of it. I'm just going to kind of go through some of it. It's not hard to find James Gunn's office on the Warner Brothers lot. A huge glowing Superman S symbol beckons from an entrance wall visible through a glass door from yards away. Gunn, 58, is in his third year as co-CEO of the company's newly created DC Studios, sharing the title and office with Peter Safran, who handles the business side of the operation. Together, they're creating a new superhero universe around some very old characters, aiming to finally make Superman and friends and family and flying pet truly competitive with the currently shaky Marvel Cinematic Universe. Which, that is true, it is shaky. Gunn is a refugee from that universe after writing and directing his final MCU movie, 2023's Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Superman, due July 11th, is the first feature film set in the new DCU and arguably one of the highest stakes movies ever made. Indeed, it is. Though Gunn despises that framing. It is. He's an unlikely studio executive, to say the least. He spent his early years trying every conceivable creative outlet, fronting brands, drawing alternative weekly comic strips, acting, performing monologues in dive bars. He also got a Columbia MFA and published a raw early aughts debut novel, The Toy Collector, finding a path to his true calling when Lloyd Kaufman, co-founder of famed B-movie purveyor Troma Entertainment, paid him $150 to write a screenplay for something called Tromeo and Juliet. He was soon writing big-budget movies from Scooby-Doo to Dawn of the Dead and directing quirky films of his own, one of which caught Marvel's attention, landing him the first Guardians of the Galaxy in 2014. With that film, he made himself an instant A-plus list director. He did. Forging a blockbuster from a deeply personal blend of left-field humor, visual dexterity, and aching empathy for the oddest of characters, all scored with the Cosmos' greatest mixtape. After the second movie in 2017, right-wing trolls under some of his edgy early tweets, and Marvel fired him. They soon changed their minds, but the temporary separation opened the door to his first DC film, Suicide Squad, and his current gig. Okay, I'm not sure if it was right-wing trolls, because I don't think right-wing and left-wing, when you're tweeting about what he tweeted about, which was children, right-wing or left-wing, I would hope you would see concern for that when he was tweeting pedophilic tweets. In a glass case in the hallway of his shared office, which once belonged to Frank Sinatra, is a full Superman costume worn by the late Christopher Reeve. A Gene Hackman-worn Lex Luthor bathrobe is in its own case in the spa-sized bathroom. Gunn sits on a couch with Superman and Aquaman action figures looming above him on a mantel. On the coffee table are various DC comics, among them one eyebrow-raising anomaly, a copy of the first Marvel DC crossover project, 1976 Superman vs. The Amazing Spider-Man, The Battle of the Century. And a lot what I was afraid of from that last paragraph I read was that he was going to make Superman 2 Guardians of the Galaxy. Which it still might be. We don't know. We won't know for another few days. Now it starts going into questions that they asked him. Supergirl, which is out next year, is wrapping principal photography. How much were you on the set? James says 0. Very little. I mean at the very beginning, but I've been pretty busy, as you might imagine. I was really involved at the script stage, but then director Craig Gillespie has just been such a great partner. He's just been doing his thing. You never know how something cuts together, but right now it looks amazing. It's really cool stuff. That's no longer called Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, correct? James says, I think it's just called Supergirl. Your Superman movie was first called Superman Legacy, and now it's just Superman. James says, yeah, I'm always cutting. Legacy was really, we do something called a premortem. A premortem is you get together with your group that's doing the project. It's usually about a couple of months before shooting, and you go, hypothetically, if it's an epic disaster, what are the things that we're doing today that are going to cause it to be an epic disaster? Everyone here can speak freely. The things you find on other productions are the things that people are whispering. Oh God, I don't know why they cast that actor. He doesn't fit the role. Or the production designer's never on time. One of the things I brought up was it was called Superman Legacy. Even though I was the one that gave it that title, I just wasn't sure. First of all, I'm sick of the superhero title, other name thing. And then also it seemed to be looking back when we're looking forward. Even though it does have to do with legacy in the movie itself, and everybody was like, oh yeah, no, change it. I do agree with the name change. I think the name change was good, especially starting off the universe. It occurred to me that this particular version of Superman needed a certain version of you and a certain version of the audience. Could 2010 James Gunn have made this film? I don't think the 2020 James could. Really? Because you were writing a script in 2020, were you not? Everybody knows I was offered Superman in 2018. They also talked to me about Batman earlier than that, but I was in the middle of Guardians 3. If they had come to me in 2018 with Batman, I would have said yes. But yeah, I just couldn't quite wrap my head around it. What had to change? I needed the right way in, and that required me to think through a few thousand options before I got to the way I thought it worked. But I do also think that my life and career has been a gradual softening of the edges. I still like black comedy. I still have edges, but I used to like provoking a lot. And today, although I still seem to do it, I don't really like doing that. In my heart, I'm pretty sentimental. I just believe in basic human values. I think Guardians of the Galaxy was a good starter kit for that. Okay, I don't know what he means by black humor, or black comedy. Does he just mean dark comedy? Because his comedy's not really dark, it's just juvenile. And he does provoke a lot. A lot of his jokes don't land. Look at Creature Commandos. Look at Suicide Squad. I mean, that didn't land for everybody, and a lot of people didn't care for it. So I hope he has had a softening, and that he can do Superman justice. They all had a lot of heart. They all had a lot of heart, but they do have their own weirdness and oddities and edginess. And Superman isn't that. Okay. Even though he does, from the outside, have a lot of oddness, a flying dog in a cape is odd. Giant walking robots and kaijus, that's all odd. But the very good nature of him, this really strong belief in what's right, sometimes perhaps to a fault, is what makes Superman who he is. And that is not Star-Lord or Rocket. That's not a guy who's angry or covering up his emotions. He's pretty pure. And so getting to the place where I could write that character was a journey. In the past, I would have done it through making fun of the character. And I don't think that's what I do here. I'm less afraid now than I used to be. I allow myself to be purely creative more than I used to. And I thought I was being purely creative, but a lot of times it was just anger releasing itself in another way. I'm less afraid of being goofy or sentimental or boring or straight. Okay, so I like what he says here because it kind of puts at ease some of the worry I had about, it being too jokey, or Superman being too jokey, too full of jokes, too full of humor. I feel like he understands the character a lot now, because he says, he is odd, but the very good nature of him, like, that's not funny. It's not something he can make fun of. So I do like that. Okay, everybody, so that full interview took me about 40 minutes to film, so I'm going to cut it up into 4 parts. So that was part 1. I hope you enjoyed part 1 of the interview. Come back for parts 2, 3, and 4 in my later videos. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching.